Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing part 2, which is technically part 5 of my most anticipated reads of 2025. I say part 2 because this is my halfway through the year update where a lot of new releases have been announced and I want to chat about them. A couple days ago I released part 1, which was part 4, with a whole new slew of books that I'm super stoked for, and I have the final 8 here today. That last video I did have a couple non-fiction reads in there, which is very rare for me. This one I believe is all fiction, but I'm not going to do a super long intro. If you haven't seen parts 1, 2, or 3 from January, definitely check those out. And if you haven't seen my update and additions to the list from last week, definitely check that one out as well. But yeah, let's start. Or I guess not even last week. I think I posted it on Tuesday, but a couple days ago. But yeah, let's dive in and see what other releases I am super excited for that have recently been announced for 2025. Okay, so first up we have No Rest for the Wicked by Rachel Louise Adams. Now this comes out on September 16th. I had actually not heard of this author before. I saw this premise and it really spoke to me. And so now I'm like super intrigued to know more. And it says, with an expert hand, Rachel Louise Adams' debut No Rest for the Wicked reads like an edge-of-your-seat, heart-pounding, scary movie. In one Halloween-obsessed Midwestern town, everyone's on red alert after a local politician goes missing. Little do they know, it's only the beginning. It's been close to 20 years since forensic pathologist Dolores Hawthorne left her hometown of Little Horton, Wisconsin. The town is famous for its Halloween celebrations, but also its history of violent deaths linked to the holiday. To Dolores, it's the place she fled, family, bad memories, and all. Until the FBI calls to tell her that her father, the former mayor turned U.S. Senator, is missing under mysterious circumstances. Some people count to 10 to wake up from a nightmare. Dolores always counts the bones of her head, sphenoid, I don't think I said that right, frontal, lacrimal. But no matter how many times she counts them, it doesn't change the fact that her father is missing, that his final words of warning to her were to trust no one, and that now the rest of her family is giving Dolores a chilling welcome. With Halloween fast approaching, Dolores must face the past she left behind before it's too late. I'm sure you can figure out why this premise spoke to me. I think there are so many horror novels that just don't focus on Halloween, and just not enough Halloween in horror, which is so funny because I feel like they're so synonymous. So whenever I see something that is Halloween-centric or even like autumnal-centric, I always want to pick it up. I always want to read it just because I love Halloween, I love October, I love the fall. This premise sounds awesome to me, so really excited for this debut. Okay, so the next one that I'm really interested in, similar theme, we have Twisted Tales to Tell in the Night, a Halloween horror anthology. This is edited by Stephanie Rose, who I believe I have read something by her, but I don't remember off the top of my head what it is. But the premise is, filled with spooky stories by new trick-or-treaters to the big kids that know the streets that give out the good candy. All of these stories capture the storytelling style of scary stories to tell in the dark, with each author's own twist. We know you miss Halloween in October, and with this collection you can stop and savor it every day of the month with these fun-sized seasonal nostalgic tales. Obviously, I'm not super into anthologies if you've been on this channel for a while, but I do really like this premise. I love Halloween, and if I see it as a theme, I will definitely try to pick it up. I do a video update every year of like stories that remind me of Halloween in horror, so I just love being able to add to that because it's so fun. It's such a fun and cute concept, and I don't see it enough, and I'm going to definitely be picking that up. Okay, oh, and that comes out on September 16th. I don't remember if I said that. We have a lot of September 16th dates. Oh, I lie. I do have one more nonfiction. My bad, guys. So this comes out on September 30th, and this is called America's Most Gothic, Haunted History Stranger Than Fiction. This is by Leanna Renee Hyber and Andrea James. And from Goodreads, it says, The Gothic, brooding, atmospheric, chilling, and not always the outpouring of a feverish imagination. Reality can be even stranger as borne out in this lush and ghostly look at real people who lived and died amidst the trappings of the Gothic. Fog clinging to an isolated mansion, a dangerous patriarch or an overbearing matron. Locked doors and forbidden rooms, whispers of murder and madness, and a woman shadowed by omnipresent threats. You've guessed it. You've stumbled into a Gothic tale, and it will haunt you like a ghost. We often think of the enduring tropes of the Gothic in terms of fiction and film, breath-catching escapes that tap into our fears, anxieties, forbidden desires, and unsettling dreams. But what if some of these chilly vibes are rooted in the experiences of real and tragic people who danced a macabre waltz with love and death? That's why we're here. Take the case of teenage Mercy Brown, victim, or was it predator, of Rhode Island's vampire hysteria in the 1890s. Marguerite de la Roque, a French noblewoman condemned for sexual crimes, to Canada's long-lost Isle of Demons. What happened to her and the barren landscape itself is stuff of legend. And Mad Lucy Ludwell, the decidedly peculiar 18th century high society hauteur driven mad in the Virginia estate she prowls to this day. President Helen Peabody's spirit still stringently watches over her women's college, now part of Ohio's Miami University. Ghosts of workers lost in horrific conditions while building the Hoosac Tunnel warn of imminent danger. Settle in, there are more. Welcome to the phantom ships, haunted academic halls, menacing landscapes, and family curses of America's most Gothic. A tour of spectral sightings and disordered minds. But it's sure to get under your skin. The haunted and haunting figures herein want it that way. I am super excited for that. That sounds so fun. I love this idea of pulling in real stories into the Gothic narrative. The Mercy Brown case, I think, is absolutely exceptionally phenomenal. In fact, Paul Tremblay wrote like a whole story kind of dedicated to that kind of mystery and intrigue. I go to Rhode Island quite a lot, so very, very excited to read about that. A lot of these I'm hoping to get on audiobook. Some of them are like indie publishers, so I don't know that they'll have them. But that's how I've been consuming a lot of nonfiction this year. It's like a new thing for me to try and get into more nonfiction about macabre subjects that I really, really like. So we're going to see how that goes. Okay, next up, also on September 30th, we have Widow's Point, The Complete Haunting. Now this is by Richard Shizmar and W.H. Shizmar, which is his son. I love Chasing the Boogeyman. That's what introduced me to Richard Shizmar, so I'm really, really, really excited to read more from him. I have yet to read Memorials, which was his big release last year, but Becoming the Boogeyman and Chasing the Boogeyman, I thought they were both fantastic, so I'm really, really, really excited to see more from him. So this says, New York Times bestselling author Richard Shizmar, one of horror's indispensable writers, and his son, W.H. Shizmar, critically acclaimed author of Them, hailed by New York Times bestselling author Josh Malerman as one of the best debuts I've ever read, present a riveting found footage narrative about doomed thrill seekers trapped in a haunted lighthouse. This is a bad place. I don't think people are meant to live here. Longtime residents of Harper's Cove believe that something is wrong with the Widow's Point Lighthouse. Some say it's cursed, others claim it's haunted. Originally built in 1838, 3 workers were killed during the lighthouse's construction, including one who mysteriously plunged to his death from the catwalk. That tragic accident was never explained, and it was just the beginning of the terror. In the decades that followed, nearly 24 additional deaths occurred in or around the lighthouse, including cold-blooded murder, suicide, unexplained accidents, and disappearances. The slaughter of an entire family and the inexplicable death of a Hollywood starlet who was filming a movie on the grounds. The lighthouse was finally shuttered tight in 1988, and a security fence was erected around the property. No one has been inside since, until now. Told across 2 harrowing incidents from 2017 and 2025, those who enter the Widow's Point Lighthouse searching for supernatural proof and the next big thing find themselves cut off from the outside world. And although no one has recently stepped foot inside the structure, they are not alone. In this remarkable collaboration, father and son writing team, Richard and W.H. Shizmar, combine forces to tell a terrifying ghost story that will make you think twice about what's waiting for you in the dark. I really hope this is done the way that Chasing the Boogeyman is, where it's designed to make the reader think that it is a real case and real circumstances. I thought that was so brilliant about Chasing the Boogeyman. It made it so immersive, it made it so real, it made it so tangible, and I know everything I just said kind of means the same thing, but I really hope that they continue that style with this, because I really, really like that premise. I like the setup, I like the setting. I think like a small town lighthouse is a fantastic like coastal spooky setting, so that should be really, really fun. Okay, next up, coming out on October 7th, we have Her Wicked Roots by Tanya Pell. Now, Tanya Pell wrote Cicada, which was one of the shortwave publishing killer VHS series, and I quite liked that, so I'm interested to read more from her for sure. So the premise for this one is, in this queer retelling of Nathaniel Hawthorne's classic Gothic story, Rappaccini's Daughter, a young woman is lured to a lush estate owned by a botanist who might be hiding dark secrets. Cordelia Beecher is on the run. In search of her missing brother Edward, she has fled the oppressive charity school she was raised in, desperate to find the only family she knows. Using clues from his past letters, she sets off for the sleepy town of Faro, but everyone there claims to have never heard of Edward. Not even the man he was supposedly working for as an apprentice. With nowhere to go, Cordy turns to Lady Evangeline, a local botanist who owns the magnificent Edenfield estate. The benevolent lady of the manor has made it her mission to take young, often traumatized women into her employ and protect them from man's world of wicked desires and deceits. Hired as a maid and companion to her enigmatic daughters, Prynne and Briar, Cordy quickly settles into Edenfield. Even as her relationship with Briar blossoms, Cordy can't help but suspect that there are secrets in the estate. And when she stumbles across the evidence that Edward was once there, she's determined to find answers. Atmospheric, eerie, and thoroughly original, her wicked roots will establish Tanya Pell as a wickedly creepy and vital voice in horror. I love Nathaniel Hawthorne. The Scarlet Letter is one of my favorite novels ever. I think Rappaccini's Daughter is one of his strongest works as well. So really excited to read this. I haven't ever really seen a Gothic retelling of Rappaccini's Daughter, so super stoked on that. Okay, next up, we have Darker Days by Thomas Oelde-Huyvelt, which is coming out on October 28th, 2025. I have yet to read Thomas Oelde-Huyvelt's other latest release, which I believe is a sequel to Hex. I have to double check on that. I didn't love Echo, I adored Hex, so I've had like a hesitancy to read more from Thomas Oelde-Huyvelt, but he does have a new release and I want to see what it's all about. So again, this is coming out on October 28th, and the premise is, from the author of the internationally acclaimed bestseller Hex comes a modern horror story with echoes of Paul Tremblay, Joe Hill, and Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, about a gilded street in a small Pacific Northwest town where the charmed residents have made a frightening bargain with devastating consequences. Sometimes you think you can see things behind the fence, bad things, so it's better not to look. In Lock Haven, a quiet town in Washington state, Bird Street is a very special place. The residences of this pretty cul-de-sac are all successful, wealthy, healthy, and happy. Their children are high achievers, well-mannered, and smart. But when November arrives, the darker days descend, bringing accidents, bad luck, familial conflict, and illness. It is in November when a stranger appears to collect on a long-standing debt. A price must be paid for the good fortune the residents of Bird Street enjoy for the other 11 months of the year. The devil is due. A sacrifice must be made. So it has been for over 100 years. To assuage their guilt, the denizens of Bird Street choose carefully who will be sent into the woods. Usually it is an elderly or terminally ill individual who wishes to die with dignity and is content to be helped on their way. Until one year, things don't go to plan, and events take a terrifying turn. Darker Days is a propulsive, haunting novel that begs the question, how far will we go for our own happiness, and what sacrifices we are willing to make? I like this premise. I really do. I remember reading The Lottery in high school and just being like, this is so brilliant and so interesting and so cool. So I'm really excited to see what Oelde-Huyvelt does with this. I really hope it leans more in the kind of sinister direction that Hex was in and less in kind of the emotional, metaphorical direction that Echo was in, because that was really hard for me to understand. So we will see. Okay, and then last but not least, also coming out on October 28th, we have Tom's Crossing by Mark Z. Danielewski. This is a 1,232-page book. Wow. I haven't read anything from Danielewski since like 2016 when I read House of Leaves. That was a massive undertaking. I spent, I think, like 2 weeks reading it straight, and I was reading it every single day. I adore that book. A little hesitant to dive into another project that is one of Danielewski's massive novels, but he is a brilliant writer, and I'd be really interested to read more from him. The only real reason I haven't been picking up anything else from him lately is because he wrote, I think it's called The Familiar, which was like a 5-part series of like 1,000-page books, and that was just, I don't do series, and I couldn't commit to like 5,000 pages of reading. But I'm interested to see what this is about, so that is why this is on this list. And the premise is, the best-selling author of the million-copy classic House of Leaves returns with a magisterial, page-turning epic about two friends determined to rescue a pair of horses set for slaughter. While folks still like to focus on the crimes that shocked the small city of Orvop, Utah back in the fall of 1982, not to mention the trials that followed, far more remember the adventure that took place beyond municipal lines in mountains ready to shrug even the bravest from their backs. As one Orvop local put, As one Orvop local would put, with another characterizing the astonishing journey as crazy as it was foolish, as it still is just plain beyond imagine. That's a typo. Sorry. This is on Goodreads, and I think there's typos in here, so my bad if something doesn't sound quite right. But them kids went... Oh, no, it's colloquial. It's being written very colloquially. Okay. But them kids went for it anyway. Not that such daring was entirely unexpected, considering how some of those involved included the likes of young Tom Gatestone, already a bit of an Orvop legend, and his friend Callan March. New to the area, the two of them taking it upon themselves to rescue a couple of neglected horses from the porch paddocks on a willow and oak. Who knows what would have happened if they hadn't? For sure, no one expected the dead to rise, but they did. For sure, no one expected the mountain to fall, but it did. For sure, no one expected an act of courage so great and likewise so appalling that it still staggers the heart and mind of anyone who knows anything about the Catanogos Massif, to say nothing of Pillar's Meadow. This is so confusing to read. As one Orvop high schooler teacher would describe the extraordinary feat days before she died. For sure, no one expected Callan March to tell Old Porch, "You get what you deserve when you ride with cowards." In the sweeping tale of mythic proportions, populated by extraordinary characters, the ghosts of the American West, and bursting with unexpected humor, Daniel Lewski tells a masterful story of determination, perseverance, and humanity in the face of long odds and adverse fate. Okay, so I definitely think that there was something lost in the transcription of that premise into that synopsis on Goodreads, because I could tell some things were meant to be in quotes and some things were meant to be like colloquial phrases, but then it would like flip back to sounding like an actual synopsis. So from what I get from that, that sounds cool. That sounds a lot more traditionally horror than I would say Daniel Lewski does. I'm interested to see if it takes on the format of House of Leaves, where it is just so many layers upon layers upon layers of narratives within narratives and stylistic choices that allow the narrative to also grow and evolve. If you've never read House of Leaves, it's one of the most interesting books I've ever read. Done in a very, very unique and challenging and interesting style. Some people love it, some people hate it. I have a whole video on if you should read House of Leaves. It is one of the... It's definitely one of the coolest books I've ever read. I can just objectively say that because of the formatting alone. So yeah, definitely take a look at that if you're unfamiliar with House of Leaves, or if you have always been interested in maybe reading it, but definitely interested to see what Daniel Lewski is going to do with that. Anyways, those are my last set of books that I'm super excited for 2025. Hoping to get through all of them over the next coming months and getting some reviews up. It sounds like we're gonna have a really strong fall, September and October, with some Halloween and spooky reads, and I cannot wait. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I'm trying to post 2 to 3 times every single week. And if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Mwah.